welcome to this week's episode of Food from Fiction. We're going to tackle Pride and Prejudice. I was rereading it because who doesn't? And the first food that jumped out to me was the cold ham and chicken salads. Then when I started researching what cold ham salad is, I decided it wasn't something I needed to have in my house. However, I know many of my library family and friends find it, I'm not sure what the adjective I want to use is, incredible that my family makes their own mayonnaise. So I thought we would do a combination here, and we're going to make mayonnaise because it's one of the ingredients in at least a modern cold ham salad, without actually having to make a ham salad. So we're going to tackle mayonnaise and then Pride and Prejudice. So you need an egg, room temperature. The fresher it is, the better. If you can like shake it out of the chicken, awesome. I use my food processor for this because it makes the whole thing super easy and quick. So we have an egg. Excuse me. That one was coming for a long time. Alright, now we have ground mustard, which is not a taste thing. It's actually what helps everything like coagulate and thicken. So if at all possible, definitely use mustard powder, ground mustard, instead of like mustard that you put on sandwiches or hot dogs or whatever. So we'll just put some of that in there and make a mess. Alright, so now we just blend it up, get those two ingredients all together. And now we add vinegar. I'm using, well, my mom distills this delicious basil and garlic vinegar, so that's what I'm going to use. You can use any kind of vinegar, but each vinegar will create a mayonnaise or an aioli that has a slightly different taste, so play around with it. Keep that in mind when you're making it. And then you need oil, since that's really what mayonnaise is like a whipped oil. It's not the best sentence I've ever said. So just start adding it in slowly, and I will show you what to do next, because this is my... One thing to note about the oil when you're putting it in or selecting what kind, the more olive oil you use, the runnier your sauce will be. So if you use corn or vegetable or soy or peanut or whatever else, it will be thicker and more like what you expect to find in a jar at the store. The more olive oil, the more loose and runny it's going to be. So we did that. Now we're just going to add some salt and pepper, and then we're done. Since I was rereading Pride and Prejudice for this, I paid specific attention to any time they were eating or drinking, and I found it really interesting how they are always going to dinner or tea or parties or whatever, and yet there's very little food that's mentioned or seems to be actually consumed. And I'm not sure if that's because Miss Austen didn't think that was the important thing, or because maybe food that the gentry was eating was so far out of touch and not relatable to what everybody who potentially was reading her books could relate to, or maybe there was some other cause, but I did find it interesting that there's so many times when they're supposed to be eating and they're not eating. It's just a thing that they're at rather than an action they're doing. And I think this is different than a lot of the other books that we have covered so far and talked about. And I found that especially fascinating, since Pride and Prejudice is so many people's like go-to book, whether they actually like it or not, I'm not sure. I really enjoy Pride and Prejudice. I think Jane Austen's writing is delightfully snarky, and the stories are engaging and relevant 200 years after the fact, 100 years after the fact. I think anybody that's read them has felt and connected to them, which is one of the reasons they are still such a prevalent thing and still on library bookshelves, whereas other things maybe have not aged as well. So yeah, Pride and Prejudice, again, it's a classic for a reason. And let me know if you actually try making cold ham salad, or if you really enjoy it because you already know what it is. Yeah, I'm going to add this salt and pepper, and then my mayo will be done. So you just put it in the fridge, and it will continue to coagulate and thicken. Or if you're like me and used a lot of olive oil, it won't. You can turn it into aioli, you can use it in sauces, you can use it how you would use regular mayonnaise, because it is, and it's delicious. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you'll give homemade mayonnaise a try. I know mayonnaise, I probably should have started with this, is a very controversial thing. Some people absolutely love it, and some people start gagging at just the name of it. So there's nothing gross in mayonnaise, just egg vinegar and oil. So be that as it may, hope you guys have a nice week, and see you next time.